So I've known about the big twist in Empire Strikes Back for years. This was back before I even knew it was a twist. I remember being in elementary school at an assembly, and I forgot the context of this conversation, but I remember my principal still said the line, "Luke, I am your father," which isn't a word for or word a quote from the actual line in the movie, but at the time I didn't know he was referencing anything. I thought he was just either doing funny voices or he was just saying something from a franchise I didn't really know about. But little did I know that came from one of the biggest movie twists in cinema history, and we're going to talk about the movie from where that line came from right now. Hey everybody, Bloodmoon Bobby here. So I'm continuing on my adventure across the galaxy to watch the Star Wars original trilogy. Last week I reviewed A New Hope and it was great. And today I'm going to be reviewing The Empire Strikes Back, the sequel, often considered the best Star Wars movie ever made. So this time Luke goes off to train with Yoda, and through his adventures he discovers something about his lineage that would lead to one of the biggest twists in cinema history. So the way I looked at A New Hope was that I thought it was a really good introduction into the Star Wars saga, and it got me interested in checking out the other movies. Empire Strikes Back, on the other hand, is the movie that really fleshes out that introduction, that really fleshes out the principal cast, and I think it does a really good job at doing that. Easily, some of my favorite scenes from The Empire Strikes Back has to do with Luke's training with Yoda. First of all, the introduction with Yoda is really humorous. I really like the little quibbles he gets into and how he gets into that little playful fight with R2-D2, and he's not very straightforward with introducing himself. But at the same time, he's, a very wise person and comes off as a really good teacher for Luke. Of course, he says the really memorable line, and do or do not, there is no try, but which I know can be a bit of a sort of a questionable philosophy. Like, I've always been a person that believes in trying your best at things and so forth, but I do respect the determination behind that line, and I think it's a good words to live by. And I think some of those training sequences, they're both relatable but also make the Force really tangible. It doesn't come off as just the superpower where the instant you learn it you become really good at it, but it's like no, you have to train in order to use the Force to your advantage. Like the scene where Luke is really trying his best in order to move objects, and the scene where he's trying to move the ship, and he's trying to like concentrate, and it's really difficult for him and he gives up, but of course Yoda shows that he could do it. So I think scenes like that really make the Force a much more like tangible concept, rather than just being like, once you get this superpower you'll instantly get good at it and you can save the day. But I like how they show that it's something that you have to really, it's a concept that you have to practice working with. It's not something that you can just pick up right away. It's like a skill you need to learn, and I think that was really good. And I also like how it shows that, of course, people in Star Wars always talk about, may the Force be with you, and so on and so forth. And it's supposed to be basically the abstract, mystical energy around their characters. But I also like how it shows, like, even though the Force can be a helpful tool, that doesn't necessarily mean that, it can always be relied upon. Like, for instance, when Luke gets that vision of seeing Han and Leia in trouble, he's like, oh my god, I gotta go off and rescue them. But Obi-Wan's ghost and Yoda are like, no, if you stop the training right now, you're going to, not only are you going to face trouble on your own, but you're also going to give into the dark side because, you're giving into impatience. And I also really think that makes, Luke's character likable, because funny enough, even though I knew the basics of the original Star Wars trilogy before I watched the movies, I didn't quite get what people meant when people said that, Luke is being tempted by the dark side. And I'm pleasantly surprised to see this is what they meant, at least one of the ways, when they say that, he's being tempted by the dark side, and that, he's being kind of impatient and saying, no, I've learned a lot from you, Yoda. I'm going to go off and save Leia and Han. And, I could really, relate to that sort of of temptation. I personally know that feeling of like thinking that, oh, I already, learned a lot of skills as a way of because as a way of showing admittedly that I don't want to come off as like inexperienced or not knowing what I'm talking about. And also, if I was in that situation, I would be just as panicked at Luke, and that, I understand why, he would want to save his friend. So it makes for a really complex scene, and it makes for one of my favorite scenes in The Empire Strikes Back. The scenes with Han and Leia are pretty good too. I really like the intense asteroid field scene where Han steers the Millennium Falcon into this crazy asteroid field as a way to outmaneuver these enemy ships so they'll crash. And of course, Empire Strikes Back would be the beginning of a romantic relationship between Han and Leia. And I thought those scenes were pretty well done too. It's interesting how, as much as the characters often bicker or back and forth with each other, at the same time, you still get the sense that these characters are still, friends with each other. And in this case, we see that Han and Leia start to form this romantic relationship, and they still remain likable characters. And it makes it even more sad when Han gets frozen in the middle of the movie. And I remember, watching that scene, knowing that it was coming. I really didn't want to see like Han get thrown into this potentially dangerous situation. I think that they made the primary characters really likable. Of course, this leads us into the famous climax where Luke and Vader face each other or one-on-one for the first time. Once again, James Earl Jones doing the voice of Vader, and the late great David Prowse doing the actual like physical performance as Vader. Both do a really good job in this movie. James Earl Jones really makes Vader into this guy who's this guy who's like really like sure of himself and comes off as really intimidating in this film. Like, you could basically have him say like the most casual lines, and at the same time you're just thinking, wow, this is a guy you really don't want to mess with. And I'm really glad that was able to be pulled off, which leads us to the really big twist of the movie way after Vader chops off Luke's arm, and now Luke is completely defenseless, and Luke tells Vader that Obi-Wan told me enough, and he told me that you killed my father, and Vader says, no, I am your father. And yeah, that is one of the biggest twists in cinema history, as I keep saying in this video. And funny enough, even though I knew that twist going into this video, like I said, I've known about it for years and years. How it was able to be pulled off through Mark Hamill's acting, I thought was still done very brilliantly. Like, I remember watching the scene and hearing John Williams' like thunderous score going dun 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 dun, and still getting chills down my spine. The scene was pulled off really well, and Mark Hamill's acting throughout that whole time, where Luke is just in utter shock hearing that Vader is indeed his father. Or I very much believe the whole time that Luke was in complete shock. It almost sounds like such a thing where it's like it sounds like it could be untrue, but Luke just from that scene alone knows that yes, it's true that Vader indeed is his real father. And so overall, The Empire Strikes Back is a pretty good sequel to the original Star Wars. I really liked how it was able to be fleshed out. I really like how they were able to make the Force a tangible concept. The twist was great, and the acting from basically all the cast was really good in this movie. So really glad I finally got to see Empire Strikes Back. I kind of get the feeling that I probably would have been even more wowed if I didn't know about the twist going in, but I guess just welcome to following the pop culture industry in the 2000s and 2010s, where with something as big as the whole no, I am your father, it's basically impossible to avoid unless you really want to just live under a rock while following the entertainment industry. But I'm still really glad to see it. I still thought that the movie was pulled off really well, hoping I can see Return of the Jedi next. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you personally think of Empire Strikes Back? Do you personally think it's the best Star Wars movie? How do you personally feel about that? Leave all those comments down below. And until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby and Yoda, and thank you for watching. Hi everyone, thanks for watching this Blood Moon Bobby video. Like and share the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel to see more of my videos and ring the bell to be notified about my latest uploads. Don't forget to follow me on social media for my latest opinions and video updates. I hope to see you next time.